Why do people think video games are sinful even though there is no evidence for it? So, the reason that some people think that video games are sinful is it could be sort of threefold, right? There are people who are like the most extreme and they think that all video games are sinful. Then there are people who think that they're sinful for a particular reason, such as perhaps the content of the video game. Maybe there's lustful content in video games, and their impression of video games is that they generally contain lustful content, which is not the case, although it is pretty often that they do. And the third reason why somebody might think it's sinful is because they might perceive it to correlate with the sin of sloth, right? And so you have those three. The first person, which is the one who believes that they're sinful just like inherently, they're obviously wrong, but they might actually just be subconsciously applying the reasoning of the second or third person that we mentioned, right? So they might have just the general impression, oh, this is bad for you, and they can't tell you why, but they just have like an intuition that it's bad for you. That's not enough to really make a declarative statement that like holds any value, any weight, because like you're not really saying anything. And so I wouldn't necessarily take them seriously. I would take seriously the second person and the third person, actually, because there's a lot more truth to it. So sexual content in video games is somewhat prevalent. And, like even in the bigger releases, right? Genshin Impact, a lot of fan service in that. When I say fan service, I'm referring to inappropriate content, such as immodest clothing and lustful intent in the creation of characters, or the presentation of characters or the world or dialogue, etc. So you have stuff like Genshin Impact, right? That's a huge one, and all the other gacha games like it, Wuthering Waves, Honkai Star Rail. Those are big right now. But then also, like the biggest release of what seems to be this year is GTA 6 when it comes out, and that is going to definitely have sexual content in it because it's Grand Theft Auto. Red Dead Redemption 2 has nudity, which is another big release from just a few years ago. So the idea that video games contain inappropriate content actually holds a lot of water. And so that's why it's up to the believer to be prudent about the content that they consume. I have a whole video explaining the dangers of fan service. You might want to check that out to sort of give you an understanding of why inappropriate content is bad for you, even if it's just in video games or in, mediums that are very clearly not supposed to be depicting actual real people and specifically real women. It's still bad for you, and I explain why in that video. But the third person, the one who thinks that it's slothful, I think it's because, frankly, and I've noticed this even in myself, video games definitely are a time sink. The more time that you spend in recreation is going to eat at the amount of time in your day generally. And there is a lot of time in your day that should be allocated to doing things that you have to do. Even if they're not urgent, you should allocate time to doing those things, because eventually, the longer you take, the more urgent they become and the more they pile up. And playing video games, I've noticed in my own life ever since I started working like a proper, like, full hours, I have noticed that video games make up a significantly smaller portion of my daily life, if at all. I might play a video game for like an hour or two every 2 to 3 days. Maybe on weekends I'll play like 4 or 5, but even then on weekends there is stuff to do. And playing a lot of video games means that you're spending a lot of time on something that is not essential, that is very low on the scale of importance and very low on the scale of urgency. Like you don't have to do it, and there's no like time pressure for you to do it. It's recreation. That being said, it's not that video games are inherently sinful or inherently encourage sloth. They're a pastime, and just like any other pastime, they have to be enjoyed healthily. And let's be honest with ourselves with what healthy means. A lot of the time we consider video game usage to be a lot healthier in longer doses than it actually is. And we really need to take like a good and honest look at ourselves and say, dang, maybe I should have done the laundry today instead of, playing Monster Hunter for an hour. Maybe I should have gone and picked up the groceries that I was going to pick up instead of spending 2 hours in Genshin Impact, you know, that sort of thing. Maybe I should have spent time with mom because I haven't spent time with her in like a week instead of, locking myself in my room and playing Call of Duty Warzone with my friends online. It's about prioritization. And the people who have this idea of video games being sinful, a lot of the time, they have some notion of that. They have this notion that it's a waste of time that's not productive. And yeah, it's not productive, actually. It is entertainment. Entertainment is not meant to be productive. Recreation, leisure, if you will, is not meant to be productive. There are productive hobbies, and then there are pastime hobbies, and they can overlap, but they can also be distinct from each other. Me playing music may lead to me playing at a concert. It may lead to me opening for a band. It may lead to me playing at a bar. Or it could just be because I like playing in my room because I like the sound of music. And the same thing with video games. Maybe you run a gaming YouTube channel. Maybe you stream like what I'm doing right now. Maybe you stream. Or maybe you just like playing video games. And it doesn't have to be productive. It doesn't have to make you money. That's fine. It's a pastime. But it needs to be enjoyed healthily. And it should be enjoyed without sinning. Live life to the fullest, but don't sin. Be as rambunctious or as shut in as you want. Just don't sin. And a lot of the time when we play video games, especially for periods longer than our family members are comfortable with, a lot of the time that's the sin of sloth. And we have other things that we should be doing that we're putting off. Myself included. I do that a lot. It's something I struggle with. And I think I've gotten better over time with it. But it's something we got to be honest with ourselves about.